Joe Parsonage, welcome to the
Thank you.
Your PT podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute delight. I'm pleased that you can be with us today. Albeit it was fairly opportunist of me that you were back in Wales, and I thought I'd just grab you.
Yeah, back for a couple of weeks, so it's nice. It's nice to be home and nice to see everyone again.
Yeah.
So.
How long has it been since you've been back in Wales?
Oh, I came back 2 years ago. But yeah, I've been over in Australia for 11 years now. So The accent's a bit muffled between a bit of Welsh, a bit of Aussie.
Yeah.
But yeah, try and get home every few years if I can.
Yeah, fantastic. No, it's always great to catch up. And also, you've had such an intriguing career pathway over the last couple of years as well, and being kept updated with that and seeing how you've grown and developed a career in a really difficult environment. And we're going to touch on all of that today.
Yep.
Has been really inspiring. So
yeah, if someone had told me that had been my career path when I started out, or even like, when you're doing choosing your GCSEs and you don't know, I want to do sport.
Yeah.
And if someone went, in 15, 20 years, you're going to be doing this, I would have probably laughed. But yeah, it's been incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess before we start, for context for people who listen to this, so this podcast is primarily aimed towards personal trainers who are in the sector. They're looking at getting ahead. They might be looking at strength and conditioning as a vocation, or they might be considering starting in the fitness sector. This is all aimed towards those individuals. But for context, you and I have known each other since we were kids, basically. We've grown up together. Our families are very close. You're an extended member of the family, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you were always into sport, Joe, weren't you, growing up?
Well, it was both of us were the sporty ones, right? And even back then, I didn't have a lot of girls my age or, that were into sports. So it was often, yourself and me and your dad that would chat about sport, and then your sister and my brother were the drama and the arts.
Yes.
So it was, it was always kind of nice to have those people to speak to. And yeah, you did your degree a couple of years before me, and kind of, always looked up to what you were doing as well and what the next steps were. So it was awesome for me to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember gladiators in the living room when we were kids. So yeah, it's all good fun. But again, you've carved an amazing career journey in professional sports to a degree. So do you want to start, Joe, just talking a little bit about your background, how you landed in kind of strength and conditioning, what your pathway's been like since there, and the different countries you've worked within as well. I think that'd be great.
Yes, I'll try and summarize it in a nutshell. So yeah, I was always that sporty person, always loved doing it, and it came to the point where I was like, okay, let's see what we can do in terms of a career. Mm-hmm. So that's when you do, you select your GCSEs, your A-levels, and go, okay, where's next? And that's nearly 20 years ago, but sports science as a degree. And I'd always so remember the old John Burns gym in Swansea? So I'd always kind of trained there and just absolutely loved it. So I wanted to immerse myself in that. So I went to Bath University and did my undergrad degree. But part of that degree in my second year was going to Australia.
Okay.
So I went to Australia for a 12-month placement, which at the time you're a 20-year-old, you're, flying halfway across the world with your mate, couple of friends and going. And we literally worked 12 months in one of the Australian sports institutes.
Okay.
And we had kind of a taster of each discipline. So strength and conditioning, physiology, biomechanics.
How cool is that?
And it was just like, you get to work with these pro athletes and go, oh, wow, this can actually be
100%.
a job.
Okay.
So I had a great mentor, and I'm a big one for mentors throughout your career. You never have, your career pathway, it's not you. You don't have it unless you have the great people surrounding you. Mm-hmm. And he's still one of my best mates to this day. He was my mentor when I was over there, and yeah, that's when I really went, strength and conditioning is where I want to go.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with Australia. Like, how can
That's
you
so
not?
good. Yeah, what a brilliant opportunity, though, whilst you're going through your education, to actually go and practice what you're learning.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
And that's what I said, like, yeah, you need to learn principles and theory in a classroom or, but actually when it comes to strength and conditioning, personal training, any of that, it's been on the ground actually doing. When I say that to students now and things, it's like you learn them more by doing than by sitting back and just reading. So yeah, that was great. But then I had to come back to Wales. I had to come back to the UK and finished my undergrad. And even then it was like jobs were competitive back then. So it's like, oh, what do I do? And the University of South Wales had a master's program. And again, it was embedded in a sport. So it wasn't kind of sitting at a desk all day.
Nice.
And that's when I went and did my master's and was with Cardiff Blues Rugby.
Okay.
Which was awesome. So I'd gone from in Australia working with kind of field hockey and swimming and a few different cycling, a few different sports, then immersed into the Blues Academy, which was great. But at that time, I think I was getting up about 4 or 5 a.m, driving to Cardiff, training, like coaching, then studying, then driving back for my shift to work at the gym in the evening, then to bed at about 10 p.m. and then doing all the same the next day.
Yeah, it's
so even to keep
keep sharp.
Yeah, even kind of then it was like, oh, okay, to work in this industry, that's the commitment you've got to show. So yeah, that was an incredible year at the Blues. Had some involvement with Welsh rugby as well, with the women. And that was when, women's sport was kind of just starting to...
Well, what year was this then, Joe? So like that's circa 2010? Maybe before?
That would have been 2012. Okay. So,
so rugby from a Cardiff perspective was professional then, wasn't it? It was regionalised.
For the men, yes.
Yeah, for the men.
Yep.
But the women's game was far behind.
Yeah. So we were, the Welsh women were just kind of starting. It was all very much part-time. No one was paid. Yeah. Sam Dodge, who I worked with at the time, he ended up over in Adelaide. Okay. For the Adelaide Crows with AFL. And we're still good friends these days. So again, all those people that you kind of get to know along your career path. Yes. I think he's back working. He's with Ulster now. But that was a great kind of... And I did research, that follows on to the next steps. I did a research project that ended up getting published, which I didn't know the importance of that at the time, but I was like, oh, cool. Like, you read all this published stuff in university and then it's like, oh, okay, this is my name on it now. This is
that's big
weird.
Time, isn't it? Yeah.
And then after that, I finished that and I ended up working in tennis back in Swansea. Okay. So with Tennis Wales, based at the Swansea Tennis Centre, working with youth athletes through to kind of, your teenage, more kind of senior. Yeah. But again, that was another different sport to work with. Still working at the gym at the same time as well to balance a few things. And that was another great chapter of great athletes that I'm still in contact with these days. And again, just picking up all these different, how do you program for this type of athlete? Or how do you, and learning as you go.
There's a massive array of kind of athletes within all those sporting examples. So you've got team sports in it, fundamentally there with your rugby. Then you've got your individual athletes as well. But you can dice down your team players in rugby to individuals as well. So there's a whole plethora of different skills, personalities, abilities.
Age groups. Like I'd never, tennis is such an early specialisation. I'd never worked with 6-7-year-olds before. Yeah. And it's like, how do you tailor things to them to make it fun? Yeah. But then the stuff you do with them, like I've just done with senior teams, because it's the same.
It's engaging. Yeah. I think coaches can take a lot from that. Personal trainers in particular, making sessions fun and engaging is so critical.
100%.
When you're trying to stand out as well, in a cluttered market.
Well, the way I looked at it, it's like we do everything we learn in a very structured manner.
Yeah.
But then you go into a gym environment, or you go into more so a sports environment, it's anything but structured. It's chaos.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you actually apply a little bit of that chaos into what you're doing? Because that's what an athlete has to adapt to day in and day out, same as we all do as human beings as well. So, yeah, it's cool.
Amazing. Okay, so that takes us to kind of your education. You started your career. You're getting involved in professional sports. Where did the journey begin with your link with Australia? Because you've had the taste now in university, and it's obviously set a precedent. I probably want to go back at some point. So was that always the plan, Joe, or did it just happen?
The job search was very much Australia all the time.
Filter.
And at the time, I was like, visas were getting harder, and then this PhD came up on Twitter back in those days.
Still, it's X now, isn't it?
And I remember I was in my bedroom, and I remember sitting reading this PhD advertisement, and it was a PhD in surfing. So in me, like growing up on the beach, like surfed, since we were kiddies, like it's like, I didn't even know this was a thing, and again, this is the importance of relationships throughout your career. So Dr. Jeremy Shepherd was advertising it, who ended up being my supervisor. And I had done my master's with a colleague, basically everyone that knows everyone in sport.
Okay.
And he's like, Magnus was like, Ian Mackenzie was like, oh yeah, I know Jez. Like,
perfect.
But it's like, what's on your CV is important, but then it's the stuff behind, because they're going to pick up the phone and go,
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Are they any good?
Your network, your little black book is so valuable. I think in any industry, realistically, but particularly in sport and fitness, it's such a small industry. Everyone is super connected and super generous with their time as well, I think, which is important.
Yeah, that's something like, again, with my great mentors, like very much how can we help the next generation? Because we're not going to be here we're going to transition out, and we're going to, how are we going to help the next generation support these athletes that are just getting bigger, faster, stronger? But no, I applied for the PhD, and at the time you needed a certain number of points to get an international scholarship. So I had an interview, went through that, and got offered it, which was, I was like, oh wow, okay. And they're like, oh, but we've got to see if you meet the criteria for the scholarship.
Yeah.
So go back to my master's. That published article kind of meant everything.
Perfect. So the points analysis is weighted on your abilities and what you can prove.
Yeah, so what you've done.
That was heavily weighted, I'd imagine.
And then 3 months later, I was on a plane to Australia with
simple as that.
one suitcase and a backpack. And going to a region of Australia like I'd never been to before, didn't know anyone. But it was. I looked at it, I was 25 at the time, and I was like, oh, this is just exciting. I think about it now, and I'm like, oh, did I actually do that? Like, it's crazy.
I think in your late 20s even, I think it's exactly the right time to be making those bold decisions and bold moves. So, but for you, Joe, it was probably a no-brainer because you strategically worked to be in a position to go to Australia and be successful there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even, I didn't, the thing with the PhD, again, none of my studies were in a classroom or in a, so the thing with the PhD, I didn't step foot in a university. So the university was in Perth. I was on the East Coast.
Okay.
So it was literally, we coached pretty much, it was a PhD and then worked. So we were coaching, we were doing our PhDs, and it was just 3 years of just sponge, soak up as much as you can. This is going to be an incredible journey, working with the most elite surfers in the world. And it was just I still pinch myself now. That's amazing, and long story short, I ended up being with Surfing Australia for nearly 10 years.
Wow.
So
was it that long? That's a big stint, isn't it? So how for the surfing community, what's their key events for in a calendar year or 4 years? Do they do like World Cups?
Yeah, it's so they've got their World Championship Tour, which is basically it lasts for it's changed every year, but it lasts for 75-80% of the year.
Right. Okay.
So they have all these events around the world. Which they travel to, and they get points, and by the end of the year there's a world champion.
Okay.
So that's just changed now. So by the end of the year there's the final 5 and you become a world champion.
Yeah.
So one of the Molly Picklum's just become the world champion this morning, which was pretty cool to wake up to. And then it got announced, and this is where my kind of role evolved, it got announced as an Olympic sport in time for Tokyo.
Okay.
So surfing never been an Olympic sport, never. And then it was like, oh, there's medals in this, which obviously Australia were you kind of high likelihood of medals. So they put more funding behind it. And then, we ended up doing Tokyo, delayed Tokyo, obviously, and the Paris Olympics. Yeah,
that's amazing. I love how the Olympics have diversified the events in the last few years as well. Like even things like skateboarding. So cool, and such talent. In there as well from the athletes. It's really impressive.
It's crazy, and what's crazy is the cultural shift, and like whether you're from like the fitness industry, S&C and fitness industry, but like those surfers it was very much more mobility, yoga, then the sport changed, the waves that they were surfing in changed, and then they had to go, we need to get strong, we need to get powerful, we need to actually lift weight, and we need to, and it was like this transition of like, okay, we're actually gonna be strong, powerful, and this like shift in the strength and conditioning phase. Which being there 10 years to see that shift was incredible.
Oh, especially in surfing, you're in probably the most unpredictable environment on the planet. So how do you even start developing a strength and conditioning program for a surfer?
Just like you do with any sport or any client, it's like, what do they need to be able to succeed on a day-to-day basis or in their event?
Yeah.
And what are your physiological demands?
Yeah.
What's the needs analysis? So for surfing, that depends on what wave they're in. So if they're surfing where we just had the Olympics in Paris, all they have to do is stand up, get in a low stance, and hope that they come out of the barrel. Okay. But they've got to navigate it. But the biggest thing for them is their sprint paddle power.
Yes,
so it's
the build-up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
To get in the wave with the bit of speed they can.
Okay.
But then Tokyo, for example, was these small little Clandeneth on a bit of a blustery, not great day. So that was all about lower body explosive power and different things. So you and that's, again, working in different sports, like based on the events throughout the year.
Yeah.
You had to program and tailor everything based on the next event and what where you wanted them to be in terms of their outputs.
Yeah.
So you had to be like 3 steps ahead of going, and they never had time off. So we talked about like microdosing.
Yeah, so the periodization side of it is really difficult, I guess, because you can't really taper because they've got to perform.
No taper. So compared to doing from rugby, where you have your in season, off season, it's easy, not to say easy, but you're like, oh, this is regimented. Then surfing's like, I don't think I ever wrote a program that would not change within a week.
Okay.
Because even if you had the programs written down, if the swell came, you're not seeing them for 5 days. So if Kira on the Gold Coast was firing, and you win medals in the water, you don't win them in the gym. So it was, okay, what do we do to like keep their bodies healthy and functioning because they're going to be tired? And then we'll all right, the swell's going to go at some point, and then we've got to catch up.
Yeah.
Or if there was no swell, we just wouldn't deload them. Yeah. And we'd go, all right, we're in week 5, but we're just going to keep loading because we know there's swell coming. That's going to be our gym deload when the swell hits.
Yeah, okay.
So
nice.
The adaptation part, like in any job, right, is like, the adaptability is huge.
It's really interesting, isn't it? And it's probably quite a unique kind of athlete to work with, you know, when you look at it broadly. And I guess for context as well, for personal trainers, don't put surfers on a bosu and just throw fish and water at them. There's more method. There's more method to it than that. I just had a vision in my mind there, Joe. I just needed to get that.
I think that was our biggest, that was our biggest running joke in, people talk about like surf specific or, different specific. And I'm like, look at your principles first and then build the pyramid, but your principles have got to be at the bottom first.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's amazing. And obviously you progressed your career in Australia, and more recently you've worked with the Matildas. We'll maybe touch on that towards the end as well. But as we're on this point, because this is the starting journey into S&C, one of the topics I want to cover today is how we make you break into it, strength and conditioning. So if you look at the pathway that you follow, Joe, are there any tips or certain qualifications that fitness professionals could look at if they're serious about pursuing a career in S&C?
Yeah, so then I'm a bit behind on what this country, like what the UK is, where they're at. In Australia, but looking at job specs that are coming out in the UK, you're looking at like at least a master's degree. Yeah. So actually university is needed.
It's necessary,
and I'm a big one for kind of university is necessary, but it's not the be all. Like you gotta have it supplemented.
Yeah.
So you can get all these degrees, great, but if you don't have the hands-on, like on the ground experience, and for me, it's like just everyone teach the level 1 Australian strength and conditioning, and everyone's like, I want to work in elite sport. Yeah. And I'm like, get into your local clubs, get into like, learn how to coach 30 players with no resources. Yeah. Like, that's where I started, and it's the people you meet along the way. So it's what the degree, what you do on the ground and what you're learning along the way, and then the people that you're meeting along the way. Okay. But if you've got a passion in one sport, like follow that, but don't pigeonhole yourself as well. That's what I always say. I
think that's a really good point, actually, because I know guys and girls who were on the same degree as me back in the day, they've gone into sport and maybe got stuck because they haven't kind of looked laterally and thought, actually, I've got transferable skills here. I can move into athletics, or I can move into a different sport to what they typically would consider their sport.
And I faced that challenge coming out of surfing. So even while I was in surfing, I missed a bit of team sports. I still did some work with rugby league and different things in Australia, but everyone's like, oh, you haven't worked with GPS in 10 years, or you haven't. And even though you got this experience, it's like, I was like, oh, I've actually pigeonholed myself in this action sports space a little bit. But then that's where I think bigger picture of like we need to think more about people moving around sports. Yeah. So just because you've worked in AFL or NRL or rugby union, because all the job advertisements like, hey, you must have 5 years in rugby union. Yeah. And I'm like, for us to innovate and be better as practitioners and coaches, actually, I want to look for that person that's never worked in rugby union and comes from a different sport and is thinking outside the box.
I agree. Yeah, and bring something new to the table. Yeah. Because, I totally agree with that. And I think it's actually interesting to hear that. So Masters, in the UK at the moment, our governing body is CIMSPA, so it's like the Chartered Institute. Yep. But we talk a lot about this in the sector, about kind of CPD and it being relevant actually to your role. Yep. So it's not all about sitting on a webinar. It's not all about getting a new qualification. It's about practice. And having lived experiences. Yep. And I think you've touched on a great point there. And it's one of my questions there, Joe, is how can you build experience? I guess there's loads of opportunities if you've got your eyes open. So volunteering at a local team, things of that nature.
And I think that's where the volunteering, I know it's and I do believe you should also get paid for your time, but as internships and things are there for a reason. Yeah. And I don't think, so that whole year we were in Australia, we didn't get paid anything.
Okay.
So that was like, and then, I probably did 2 or 3 years of unpaid internships to get then like the steps and get some traction and going forward. So I think it's kind of that reality. If you do want to go into this area, you're not going to get those kind of well-paid jobs for a little while. Like that's down the line.
100%.
But it's looking at, just knocking on people's doors, sending emails. Like the universities are pretty good these days in that they've got connections with a lot of the clubs. Yeah. So they're going, hey, like, can I work for that club? Can I work for that club? And you see it. You see the enthusiasm of the students that really want to do it when they come in. We've had them at surfing, we've had them at rugby, it's great. And then like that gives me so much pleasure then to try and help support them on their path to go forward.
It's brilliant to hear about what Bath did back in your education and giving you the exposure, the opportunities. It works for all parties. Because it separates the serious from the curious very quickly.
Yep.
Because the ones who have given that opportunity go, do you know what, I'd rather stay home. They're not serious about going to Australia.
Yep.
So you dilute, the talent pool immediately.
Yep.
And then you're just dealing with the people who are serious about, embarking on a career. And what you said there, Joe, there's a direct correlation to personal trainers in that you cannot seek instant gratification.
Yeah.
This has to be considered as a marathon, not a sprint.
Yep.
And you've got to earn your stripes. You've got to do the hard yards in the early days.
That's what you've found. Like that's what happened with you as well. Like
exactly that. Yeah, 100%. The traditional personal training journey when you start is you give away complimentary sessions. You give free time. You give opportunities to expose your services. Yeah. And then eventually you start building.
You get that traction base.
And one becomes two. Then 2 refer to, and then that goes to 10. And then all of a sudden you've got a full book. But that presents another challenge for personal trainers. There are ways to diversify and grow and develop. And it sounds like from your experience in strength and conditioning, that has been quite similar.
I always break it down really simply into 2 components, and it's competency and connection. So whenever you go into any job or an internship or an opportunity, it's like you showcase competency in what you can do, even if you're learning, but competency can be showing up on time.
Yes.
Showing up wearing the right things, like that kind of, and then connection. So that's those what we call soft skills as any coach. They're like, for me, when you get to a certain level, they're more important than any hard skills.
Yes. Yeah.
Because once you've got principles down, whether it personal training, strength and conditioning, like programming, that's very much okay. You know what you're doing. You never stop learning. There's always curiosity there. How can we do things better? But how you build the relationships with your athletes, like athletes can be the most ruthless judgment. And how you build connection with teammates and things like staff, managers, all of that is so important. So breaking it down into that competency and connection.
And that's so simplistic, isn't it? For everyone to remember. It actually ties into another question I had in this area. So what can someone expect from an application process if they are serious about strength and conditioning? What's the application process look like? But I guess if you can showcase competency and connection through that, they see value instantly.
That's the thing, like you want to bring someone in that's gonna, hey, how are they gonna support my role? And that's what I've loved. Like I love mentoring students, and because it's like you're building their skill set, but they're also like, everyone talks about mentorship, but there's also reverse mentorship in there as well. And that's what I love. So I always say to them, like, you're actually studying, like, I've got this big job where I'm kind of being more of a generalist than a specialist. But hey, you're learning this stuff. Like, you can teach me some stuff. Like, you can do this, or you can lead this session, and kind of, what can they bring that's going to add value to you as well? Like, I always looked at it from that point.
It's quite nice, and it develops personal skills of the athlete then as well. I always wonder this with like pro sport, particularly in rugby, football, soccer. Is there can be a dropout rate, a significant dropout rate in many examples. And what's their career pathway look like if an athlete gets injured? So by developing some raw skills that might help them in other sectors, it's never a bad thing to do, is it? You know, and it reinforces that feedback loop, I think, with the reverse mentorship you mentioned.
Yeah, and like as a strength and conditioning coach, you're actually one of the people that are probably the most continuous in an athlete's kind of journey and development.
Yeah.
So like one of the athletes I worked with at surfing, we were working together for 7 years, maybe. But probably seeing her a couple of times a week, like whether it'll be on like Zoom if she was on the road traveling, like, and just one-to-one. Well, there's not many people in her weekly life that they have those touch points with.
Yeah.
So you become stable for that athlete, and it's not just about their physical development. It's everything. Yeah, and that's the part of the job I love. It's
I can imagine it, and I'd imagine you thrive in that environment as well, Joe. About like the emotional intelligence of knowing where your athlete's at. You know, are they ready to perform today?
Yeah,
I think that's a key skill that's probably overlooked, isn't it?
Well, it's like you get to a point with an athlete, like you see them walk through the door, and even body language. You go, "Oh, is this session going to happen today?" Like it might be a hard session you got planned, and you go, all right. Are we done it? And it's the same with like clients come in the door after they've done a 12-hour shift or, things like, well, everyone's got life going on. And you go, all right, do I need to amend the session, or how am I going to use skills to flip this session, flip the session, get the body language different, like change things up and get her in the mindset to be ready to hit this session.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can have the best program in the world, but unless you can do that, and I talk about intent all the time with my athletes. Yeah. If you haven't done intent behind your program, how you move in, what you're lifting, then you're not getting out of it what you need to. You need to.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot to be said. I'm sitting here laughing to myself because when I coach junior rugby and football. Yeah, yeah. And you can tell from how the kids turn up sometimes how they're going to perform. You just know, right, they need an iron out, or they need a bit of TLC, or because you can just sense it, you can tell it in their body language, and they are very giving with their body language, 10 and 11-year-olds.
I bet.
But that's really insightful, actually. And for me, Joe, I've never worked directly in strength and conditioning. It's actually filled some gaps, in terms of that process and what fitness professionals need to consider if they're looking at this as a career journey for them. So that's super. The next point is really an intriguing one. So the next one is about standing out as a female in a male dominant industry, and we see this as a sector in health and fitness. Probably 75% of PTs in a gym environment are usually male. Mm-hmm. I did some very broad research before the session today, and in pro sport in the UK at the moment, 20% of physios are female in pro sport, and just 3% in strength and conditioning. So there's a big, massive gap there as well. So let's start off with just a broad question of, has this ever felt like a challenge to you breaking into strength and conditioning?
Probably a one-word answer to that, and that's yes.
Great.
Yes, it's been a challenge. It is changing. Mm-hmm. It's got a long way to go. Just because we have some change doesn't mean
we're not there yet.
It's the same statistic in Australia.
Okay.
There are some great males and females that are trying to change that landscape. Yeah. So I did ask this question a lot, and we've definitely created this dichotomy of an us and a them, and a male v female. Yeah. So, I get sometimes, Joe, she's a female strength and conditioning coach. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. Like, take the female, but it happens. You don't want to be a
statistic. You stand up on merit, and I think everyone in any position needs to be there based on merit.
And it's a wider, it happens in every profession. My husband's seen a female doctor. we put those labels before a title.
Yeah.
So I think removing those, I think we're growing up now in a world where we've got more women pro sport coming through, which is great. Yeah. But I also don't think we then need to channel female coaches to female sport, which I think is happening, starting to happen a bit. Because I got my skill set, there wasn't female sports when I grew up. Welsh rugby was kind of a little bit, but I got my skill set coaching males and coaching females. And at the end of the day, they do have, there are some distinct differences. But you're learning to coach athletes. Yeah. But for me, it's the culture that club or that organization creates. Yeah. In which you're not treated differently. Which there are more places that are safe, but is it a challenge? Yes. Do you have to prove yourself more and then some? Yeah. Yes. Do you have to have thicker skin?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine it would have been a battle, and it shouldn't be like that, but it is reality, and it's nice that you can talk candidly about this as well. Because this is a safe space, and it's honesty. You want honesty and reality.
Well, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't change. Yeah, and I've had some great. Again, I go back to mentors all the time. Like one of my PhD mentors, she's incredible, and she herself been. We're all trying to break down the wall. And again, men and women are trying to break down the wall. But unfortunately, and it's other things as well, some women choose to start families, which then you take the foot off the pedal for your career and then you're delayed a bit. Or you get asked do you have anything that's going to limit your travel? Or do you have any plans that anything's going to limit? Because a lot of these pro sports, you're on the road. Yeah. I think I've been on the road 3 out of 6 months this year. Yeah. So it's all that kind of, all those restrictions as well, which unfortunately it's just the way things are with, women have children, men don't, and things like that, which, it's no one's fault, but those restrictions come into play as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, your success has been purely based on merit and examples of success. I've got this brag file of athletes that I've worked with, and no one can take that away from you. So I guess, are there any ways that females can stand out, that women can stand out when pursuing a career in strength and conditioning?
I have very much always been, I know how to say this, true to who I am. Yeah. In terms of I've not tried to fit into a mold of being one of the boys, or actually this is who I am, and I think that kind of competency is probably as a female coach, competency is the main thing that you have to prove more so. So it's like Olympic lifting, things like that. But I believe, have got a better skill set in that connection piece as well. Yeah. So it's actually leveraging your really good skill sets as well. And finding the right, again, I always go back to people, finding the right people and cultures that are going to give you the opportunities. Because right now it's I always go back to, so if we look, and it's very in the world at the minute, equality. So I never ever want to get a job because I'm a female and I'm filling a quota. Yeah. Never. Yeah. But throughout the pathway, we need equality of opportunity. Yes. And that's what doesn't often happen. Yeah. So that's what, if we get equality of opportunity for female coaches, and I think more people are aware of that now, and legislations that have come in place, which are good legislations, make that happen. And then we can make steps forward. Yeah. And ultimately, people aren't dull. At the end of the day, if you feel like, this is a tick box exercise, that's probably a hallmark of a culture you don't want to be involved with. Exactly. So I think sense checking that, and the 3 I picked out there is having values, sticking to your values. That's got to be fundamental. Having the right skill set,
and then the culture check is
Yeah.
probably key in there as well.
Yeah.
Because you got to, if you're thinking this is me for the next 10 years, you've got to be in a culture that's supportive.
Yeah.
And that you're going to thrive and develop within.
Yep. And I always say, just remove. You want to be able to get to the point where we just remove sex out of the equation, gender out of the equation, and we're all just equal. Yeah. And I think we will get there, or we're never gonna. And again, we're not in a profession. We're not trying to get 50-50. Yeah. That's never going to be attainable, and it probably nurses aren't going to ever be 50-50. Right, it's just a natural industry that has, but there's just that equality of opportunity for these young women coming through.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, and it's so great to see as well. The how women's sport has shifted in the last 5 years. I would say it simmered in the background for a while, but the last 5 years, the attention on national teams and the infrastructure, the academies, even from a junior standpoint now in Wales, there are seasoned girls teams that are developing. They're going into academies, and that's going to fuel the future for women's sport as well. So
I still get emotional. I saw two girls in football outfits yesterday, two little girls, and the amount of people, just as I said, don't come home very often, and you see these female athletes now, and this is where trainers and strength and conditioning coaches, there's a whole new cohort of athletes and humans that need supporting now, because again, the training age of females does still need to increase. We need to get them in the gym earlier, things like that. But I still get, I call it kind of pinch me moments. I still get, so the Matildas in Australia, they're huge. It's the biggest sport franchise in Australia. And I remember I was actually flying home Brisbane when they were playing in their World Cup quarter-final, I think it was, in Brisbane. The airport stopped.
Really?
And these little boys were there in their Tilly shirts. Nice, and they're growing up now. They're like, oh my God, women's sports is incredible. Yeah. And just to see, how much, you got the Women's Rugby World Cup on at the moment. Yeah. Obviously, England just won the Euros.
So much national pride there, isn't it? And that's what's inspiring to all genders and all abilities.
It's huge. It's so good. And again, they've now got the equality of opportunity, which is incredible.
Yeah, 100%. And from my perspective, to see the likes of yourself leading this development as well, Joe, is really inspiring, because it's not, one person's not going to fix it. Has to be kind of a movement to really get the momentum, but it for sure it's heading in the right direction. Yeah,
and I said the team behind it that it takes to do, and the people that have come before. Yeah, we're seeing the rewards of lots of people that have come before and not got recognition for what they've done. Yeah, because it wasn't around then. There are trainers and S&Cs that have worked with women's sport for 30 odd years. Yeah.
So there's a foundation.
So there's a foundation that they've built, and kind of, everyone's standing on everyone's shoulders, which is awesome to see. Yeah. And it must be very gratifying for you as well to sort of look and say, you know what, I bucked the trend here. I've done exactly what I wanted to do, and that's not through, that's through your endeavours, your enthusiasm, your desire to get to your targets and achieve the career that you set out to achieve in university. Yeah, I think it's when you, for me, it was never about achieving the career. It was about being in a job that I loved. Yeah. Okay. And being something where I'm dead to wake up every day and go, hey, I want to go to work. Yeah. This is cool. Yeah. And having an impact, whether it's an elite athlete or whether it's just Joe Blogs down the road, it doesn't matter. But having, we know how much wellness and health can have such an impact. Yeah. On anyone's life and be life-changing. So it's that for me is kind of the why. People talk about their why, and it's just kind of I remember being at a Wales women's game 15 years ago, and it's friends and family, right? And and then we were in Sydney earlier this year, and I think Sydney was about 55,000. I'm sitting there on the bench, and I'm I just start shivers and just start chicken skin going, this is the why. This is why we've, why not just me, but the whole team, people, everyone do what they do, to be able to give these amazing athletes the opportunity to experience times like that in their career. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So it is kind of a pinch me moment, isn't it?
I call them pinch me moments.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think our industry is a very good industry for keeping people engaged, because it is fun. It is so rewarding. So, you know, my message always to anyone kind of looking at joining the sector is give it a go, because I don't know anyone who's kind of entered our industry and looked back. If they've come in with the right attitude and the right skills, no one has looked back. It's such a fun, engaging industry.
It's so good. Like, I looked at the experiences I've had, the people I've got to meet, the places I've travelled. We were chatting about travelling. Everyone's like, "Oh, you've been to all these places," and I'm like, "Yeah, you see." I very luckily, like with surfing, you see the beach, which is kind of nice, or like the hotel, the beach, the hotel, the football field. Yeah. But yeah, it just gives you what I love about my job is like no one day is ever the same. Yeah. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. But you've just got that variety.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay. The next section, Jo, I want to just touch on staying relevant in an industry that's ever growing, ever expanding. Yeah. There's always new research coming out. How do you stay on top of that? Do you have any go-to resources that you use?
I'm very much so probably what I haven't mentioned. So I'm a strength and conditioning coach, but I'm more so like a strength scientist. I love the data behind the strength. So my skill sets around force plates, and which ironically then fed in, like, it's almost like now that's obviously a big thing, like we were mentioning in the UK now, force plates. And so I've kind of been able to be on top of that as it's grown, which is good. And kind of Ted Lasso made it popular, but I've always done, you have to be curious. Yeah. And what I say often now is people have forgotten to be curious. Okay. And it's like, to stay relevant, you can't just be doing what you did 5 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, you've got your basic, like strength and conditioning, like you've got your basic foundations, which everyone's got to squat, do your compound lifts, but like, how are you going to, like, whether it's testing an athlete, whether it's like being curious around what the data's telling you, or being curious around, hey, what if we add this as a little flourish to an exercise, or how about this, or so for me, staying relevant is doing that stuff, but then also again, like, speaking to the people around the world that are like, hey, I've got this idea, like, do you reckon, like, what are your thoughts? Okay. And so
sharing your research, sharing your practice to get optimal results, or an innovation.
Yeah, I think a lot of, like, in certain industries, like, everyone wants to, this is the way I do things, like, this is the secret formula. Yeah. Where I'm like, I just don't believe there's that secret formula. Like, it's how we implement what we implement. But then how can we continue to innovate? And because, if we did what we did, things have changed so quickly as it is. Like, you look at, marathon times, how no one ever thought you'd break a sub 2. They broke a sub 2. How do they? So you've just got to always be on the forefront of what's next. Yeah. And that for me is about being curious. So looking, like, LinkedIn's a great resource now, because so many people are sharing what they do on LinkedIn. Yeah. It's being able to also filter through LinkedIn. So not everything is gospel in kind of what's coming out. And again, being curious around what you're reading and going, if I did this with my athletes or my client, like, let's try it, or let's do it on myself and see what happens. Yeah. So
I think there's a lesson there, actually, isn't it? Because we consume information so quickly now, especially like social media and stuff. It's not surprising to me how youngsters are just confused about what they should be doing in the gym. It's because they're consuming quick snippets of information. Yeah. What you've put forward there, Jo, is you're not accepting the answer. You're diving deeper. You're pulling that equation apart, and just trying to find the fine margins of where you can see improvements. Yep. And in a sporting environment where fine margins are the difference between a gold and silver medal,
Yeah.
that is exactly the sort of attitude to have, I guess. You know, you can't be any other way.
And that's probably where the strength and conditioning industry is changing a bit now, is like you're not just in the gym anymore.
Yeah.
So you are kind of, on the force plates. You're more like, people are having to be more of that, like whether it's GPS as well, more of that strength scientist. But I'll always go, like, everyone hates it because I always ask why. So like with students, they're like,
annoying in the classroom.
I'm like, all right, pick 3 metrics you're going to look at from a force plate if you're looking at a jump height.
Yes.
And I'm like, but why have you picked them? And it's like, you've got to be able to answer the why.
Yeah.
Because, so I think the way we did across the importance of it is by telling stories. So I had an athlete who was coming back from an injury and had to give her data to her. And she's asking me, well, why do I need to reach that? Why do I need to do that?
Okay.
You've got to be able to answer that athlete with the correct information and explain why. Otherwise, the athlete's going to go, well, I don't like.
Yeah. They won't buy in. They'll lose trust. There's so many, bad ramifications off the back of that. You've got to back up.
And that comes back to that competency connection piece.
Okay.
So, don't trust everything you're reading. Be curious.
Yeah.
And then understand the kind of the theory that underpins, what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of lessons there that personal trainers can hone in on. I think, really, and it's difficult, in an environment, we mentioned it earlier, you're busy, I see it in gyms all over the country. Personal trainers can sometimes get into this situation where it's almost like a conveyor belt of clients. They'll set up a circuit, and I know some fantastic PTs who do this, and it's engaging, and the client is getting an experience, but it's not personalised. It's a set routine that they're all going through, and the pattern is exactly the same, and it might change, periodically, i.e. every week. But I think we can do more, and we can listen more, we can prepare more, and if that means taking a couple of sessions out of your diary, so you've got some bandwidth to plan and prep, then that is probably the best thing to do.
I think it's a great one to, I've been, I've done that in the past. Like, you just get caught in these big days of, how do I prep? You've got to have a life, you've got to sleep, you've got to... And the best since I finished at surfing after Paris last year, and I took a couple of months just out. Yeah. Like, I was doing some contract work and some different things but it was absolutely great because I'd been on the dough since I was 18, basically 18 to 35. And I was like, it was actually so good to step back, but then maybe I was reading stuff. I was going, I can actually have time to do this. Like, I can write this, I can do, and it was just, and I know not everyone's got the capability to do that. But for me, those kind of 3 to 4 months were so good to just have a little career break from kind of formal career, but kind of keep, I came back so much more refreshed in January.
100%, especially when you're academically minded. I think taking that, it just allows you to breathe and think with clarity, and then you put all that information onto paper, then that can be so rewarding and benefit you with your progression.
And I read a book that wasn't. I read a paper, actually read fiction, and I was like, this is great. Yeah. But it's adapting stuff to I'm a big one, podcasts. We live in a world now where, if you're stuck in traffic for an hour, shut a podcast on, where you can kind of, and that's just, you kind of getting passive information coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, and I use podcasts a lot as well when I'm on my travels. So I guess that's probably falls into the resource side of it as well.
Yeah.
Podcasts, access to authentic educators as well.
Yeah.
So, making sure that they've got the credentials that enables them to be an educator because you're consuming their information.
And never be afraid to message people. If you're curious about something, whether you find an email, I've just messaged people I don't know going, hey, I've listened to your podcast, I'm really curious about this, would love a chat. Are you free? And a lot of, like, if someone did that with me, I'd be like, yeah, like when you know, like, because people want to talk about what they're doing. If they haven't got time, they tell you.
Yeah.
But never be afraid to actually just, add in that extra, step of, hey, can we actually chat?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the human side of it as well. And it always kind of strikes me of, I've mentioned this obviously already, but how giving people are with their time. They're very generous with sharing ideas if they're asked the question.
Yeah.
But if you're there with the question, you're not asking it, then that's probably your problem, not theirs. So
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Joe, we're coming to the end of our podcast. We've absolutely flown through it, but you've covered so much ground there. It's been really, really insightful. It's filled lots of gaps in my knowledge and my awareness as well, which has been great. What I like to do on these podcasts is give the last word to the guest.
Yep.
It's your platform now. But I'm aware that you've got a really exciting project coming up. So over to you for the last word of what have you got coming up? You don't have to go too deep into it if you don't want to. And how excited are you about the next chapter in your career journey?
Yeah, 2025 has been a crazy year. And this is, again, with our profession, like never things can turn on their head. Like always be open to new opportunities or left field opportunities, because you never know when they're going to come around. But yeah, hence me, I'm back in Wales at the minute and then want to fly hopefully first, second week of October and doing another big international move over to the US.
Wow.
So
polar opposites.
I'll be a bit closer of a flight to home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm incredibly excited by it. It's probably a role that I could have, I would have only ever dreamt of. Yeah. So that will be me for the next couple of years at least. Fantastic. And over to the US. Over
to the States. Amazing. Well, I know a little bit about the opportunity and I'm so excited for you, Joe. I think you thoroughly deserve it.
Thanks, James.
It hasn't come about without all your endeavours and hard work over the last 10 years. That's mad. How quick that's gone.
I know.
But yeah, listen, good luck with the next chapter.
Thank you.
It's been amazing to host you today. And when you're back in Wales, it'll be good to do a follow-up because we can talk a little bit more about what the role entails and all the stuff. But I'm sure you're going to have massive success. So good luck with your next chapter. Thank you very
much. Thanks.
Amazing.
Done.
We're done. We're there. Joe, that was class.
Was that all right?
That was amazing.